Thank you very much indeed. Let's take you back now to one of our top stories today, the first meeting of the new cabinet following yesterday's reshuffle. Well, we're joined from our Westminster studio by the editor of the LabourList website, Mark Ferguson. Mark, very good evening to you.
Good evening.
It's being described in many of the papers as a lurch to the right. Is that how you see this reshuffle?
I think that's accurate, yes. I mean, there's a lot of Labour people, a lot of Labour MPs coming on television over the last 24 hours and saying that this is a no-change reshuffle, a no-change cabinet. I initially thought that myself, but actually I think it's much more than that. It's no change in the fundamental economic message, the most important message that the government's trying to get across. But in the social terms, besides from the economy, this is certainly a move to the right.
Well, who specifically do you think is more right-wing than their predecessors?
I think Chris Grayling, for example, is a good example of justice. This is someone who in the past has suggested that gay people, for example, shouldn't be allowed to stay in certain B&Bs if their owners don't want them to. That's certainly a change from the sort of cuddles and loafers of Ken Clarke, who believes in restorative justice and whose departure as Justice Secretary was mourned by the very liberal Howard League for Penal Reform. So this is a real shift to the right, certainly in justice terms. I think we can expect the prison population to go up. I think we can be expected told that prison does work, which is a departure from the kind of things Ken Clarke said. I think that is the kind of social nod to the Tory right that they were certainly looking for, but I'm not sure the country was.
But you said yourself that it doesn't change government policy, so does it really matter if this is a reshuffle that has moved the government slightly to the right?
I don't think it changes government policy on the economy, which fundamentally is the thing that will decide the election. At the moment, the economy is not working. George Osborne's deficit reduction plan is not working. Borrowing's actually going up at the moment. So we're actually in a position where the thing that is most important won't be changing, but the things that people perhaps weren't that bothered about will be changing. I think that as some of the potential changes come into force, as the coalition agreement is perhaps renegotiated over coming months, we might actually be in a position where people do start to care about some of the issues that perhaps they weren't as interested in before. And those are the issues that some of these newly promoted Tory cabinet ministers are going to be in charge of.
We saw Ed Miliband back in action at Prime Minister's questions today. Do you think he's going to make any more headway against the government in the next few weeks or months?
Well, I think we saw a strong performance from Ed Miliband today. I mean, obviously you'd expect me to say that, but David Cameron has consistently now over PMQs, it's become a bit of a habit for all Prime Ministers. David Cameron seems to be perfecting it, of not answering a question of Prime Minister's questions. Today, Ed Miliband repeatedly asked him about infrastructure that he'd said he was going to put in place, about road building and that sort of thing, and house building. And David Cameron didn't really answer any of the questions.
Well, which politicians do answer questions?
Well, look, I'm not going to pretend the Labour politicians are necessarily any better than that. But there's a fundamental issue here, is that David Cameron has been saying that tough decisions need to be made and real action needs to be made on things like growth and jobs. But he's been saying this for a long time now, but we're not really seeing any of that come through.
All right, good to talk to you. Good to get your thoughts. Thank you very much, Mark Ferguson.